Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you send us, unpack them, and pull out exactly what you need to know.
Yep, giving you the core insights without the hours of reading.
And today we're tackling a really crucial one for Amazon sellers. Strategic approaches to campaign restructuring. Basically, how do you make those big necessary changes to your PPC campaigns?
Without totally wrecking the sales momentum you've worked so hard to build. That's the key question.
Exactly. We've got a research paper from one of you focusing specifically on optimizing Amazon PPC, but minimizing that momentum damage.
So our mission today is to go through this source piece by piece and extract everything it says about doing restructuring the right way, the strategic way.
Think of this as your roadmap. We'll start with the basics. What is this momentum Amazon talks about? Why is it so important? What are the big risks if you mess up restructuring?
And then we'll dive into the strategies from the paper. The planning, the actual methods for segmenting or rebuilding campaigns, how critical timing is, monitoring.
Yeah.
All of it.
We're aiming for complete coverage on this specific topic based purely on this source. Let's jump in.
All right. So first, this concept of Amazon PPC momentum. What are we actually talking about?
Well, according to the source, it's essentially sustained good performance. Your ads are consistently visible, getting clicks, converting, driving sales. It's that steady rhythm.
And that consistency, it's massively important. Amazon's algorithm really, really likes it. It creates this positive feedback loop.
How so?
Well, strong ad performance helps your products show up higher in the organic search results, regular search results.
Okay. So good ads mean better free visibility.
Exactly. Which down the line can actually mean you spend less on ads overall.
It's like the algorithm sees those consistent ad sales as proof your product is relevant, good quality. And this source says it boosts organic rank in a few specific ways.
Yeah, it gives more power, more weight to the keywords that actually convert through your ads. Makes sense.
It also improves something called session vitality, which is basically how engaged shoppers are after they click your ad. Do they browse? Do they buy?
Right, and it generally lifts your overall sales speed metrics, which directly influence things like your bestseller rank.
So how does the algorithm track this? Is it just looking at overall sales?
It's more sophisticated than that. It uses a multi-layered system, often looking at 14-day moving averages of key things like click-through rate, or CTR, conversion rate, CVR, and your sales velocity. So it's really focused on recent performance. What have you done lately?
And there's a floor, right? A minimum level.
Yeah, that's crucial. The source says the algorithm needs a minimum daily threshold of conversions, typically around 5 to 10 sales per day from ads, just to even register that momentum exists.
Wow. Okay, so low-volume campaigns might struggle to even get on the momentum radar.
Potentially, yeah. And conversions happening within 72 hours of an ad click. They get extra weight.
There's a cool data point in here, too. Products that kept at least 80% of their max daily ad spend going for 21 days straight.
Yeah.
They got 37% higher organic impression share compared to products that advertise more sporadically.
See, consistency pays off directly in organic visibility. The algorithm rewards that steady presence.
It also looks at relevance, right?
Yeah.
Like the search terms match titles. Is the whole shopping journey logical?
Absolutely. And it even tracks how well your ads boost organic sales, looking at organic purchases within 7 days of an ad click, complementary product buys, even how fast reviews come in after someone sees an ad.
And the rewards. They're tangible. Consistent campaigns might get bid reductions like 12–18% while keeping their ad spot.
Right. Priority for those premium ad placements, even expanded keyword reach sometimes without you spending more.
Yeah.
And those organic ranking boosts we mentioned, like advertised conversions being weighted 1.8 times higher.
And there's this new thing from 2025 mentioned, momentum carryover credits.
Yeah, that's interesting. It lets sellers bank up to 14 days of really good performance data.
To sort of cushion future dips. Like when you have to make changes.
Exactly. The source says this reduced the risk of momentum loss during optimization by 38%. It shows Amazon understands changes are needed, but wants to help preserve that hard-earned momentum.
So before you even think about restructuring, you need to know where you stand on these key momentum indicators. Things like ACOS efficiency, CTR, CVR stability.
Organic Rank Migration Index, or MMI, Session Vitality Score, Share of Voice Elasticity, and definitely the Inventory Stress Coefficient, ISC. Watching these before and during changes is critical.
Okay, that sets the stage. Momentum is built on consistency. The algorithm tracks it closely and rewards it. Now, the risky part. How does restructuring mess this up?
Well, the source is really clear. Changing your campaign structure too quickly is a super common mistake, and it can really hurt your performance.
Because it forces the algorithm to basically, reset.
Pretty much. Rapid structural changes make the algorithm recalibrate. It has to rebuild quality scores for your keywords, relearn that session vitality metric, how shoppers engage after the click, and recalculate how efficient your bids are in the new setup. And that just doesn't happen overnight.
The data on this is kind of stark. Campaigns with more than 3 structural changes in a month saw CPCs jump 22–35%, while the algorithm figured things out.
And impression share dropped 18–27% for weeks. Plus, it took them 41% longer just to get their conversion rates back to normal.
Ouch. So why does it fragment momentum like that?
It breaks up the consistent signals the algorithm was using.
Yeah.
Think of it like changing the radio station. Constantly, the algorithm can't lock onto the signal.
So you lose ground on keywords.
Yeah, your buy box win rate might drop, your organic rank stability suffers. The source actually says campaigns restructured weekly lost 73% of their algorithmic trust credits.
Trust credits, huh? Interesting term.
It illustrates the point.
Yeah.
Consistency builds trust. Rapid change breaks it.
And there's this risk of internal competition, too.
Right. If you have keywords active in both your old structure and your new one during a messy transition, they can end up competing against each other.
Bidding against yourself.
Exactly. It splits your click volume, lowers CTR for individual keywords by 15–22% according to the source, and just slows down the whole momentum activation process.
Rushed restructures can also corrupt your data signals, apparently, like pausing keywords too soon or making bid changes based on weird traffic spikes.
Yeah, you end up with attribution errors. You can't even reliably tell which sales came from where, making smart decisions impossible.
And the source flags other momentum killers to avoid while restructuring, too, like letting your budget run out midday.
Huge one. Stops ads, disrupts sales velocity. Not using negative keywords properly is another, just wasting money on irrelevant clicks.
Abruptly pausing campaigns sounds particularly bad.
It is. The source says it resets algorithmic trust and can require 2.3 times higher bids just to get back to where you were.
Wow.
And the big one, not syncing with inventory. Stackouts just reset your ranking progress. You absolutely have to avoid these pitfalls during a restructure to protect that momentum.
Okay, so the risks are clear. Now let's get into the solutions. The strategic approaches from the source on how to restructure safely. Section 3.1 kicks off with planning.
Absolutely. Planning is everything. Here, before you change a single bid, you need a plan. Step 1, a comprehensive audit.
What are you looking for?
Everything. Metrics like AKS, ROAS, search lost impression share due to budget. Find those keywords costing way too much. Maybe over 150% lane TOS, or ones getting almost no clicks, like less than 1% CTR. Check for that internal keyword competition across campaigns. See how your different match types are doing. The source mentions tools can automate this and find like 72% more opportunities than doing it manually.
Okay, audit done. Then what?
Define your goals clearly. Make them smart, specific, measurable, like improving session vitality by X%, or hitting a certain share of voice.
Measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Right, and time-bound is key here. Plan to implement changes over, say, 14 to 21 days, not overnight. Link these goals back to bigger business objectives too, like managing inventory or fighting off a competitor.
Then you dig into past data. Looking back, how far?
About 45 to 90 days usually. Look for trends in sales speed. Check those algorithmic trust indicators, quality score progression, bid efficiency multipliers.
And calculate that organic lift coefficient, the OLC.
Yeah, organic sales divided by PPC sales times ACOS. It helps see if your paid and organic efforts are working well together. An OLC below 1.8 might need a different restructuring approach than one above 2.4, for example.
Next is assessing keywords and targeting.
Right. Map them out. The source suggests groups. Defensive, protecting your top organic ranks and brand. Offensive, targeting competitors. And exploratory, testing new terms, maybe allocating 10–15% of budget here.
And use negative keywords carefully across these to stop them from competing.
Exactly. Crucial for clean data and efficient spend.
Now, budget and inventory planning. This sounds critical.
It really is. Create a temporary budget plan just for the transition period. Maybe 60–70% for your proven existing campaigns.
Okay.
0.15–20% for testing the new structure side by side, and 10–15% as a buffer for tweaks after the main change.
And inventory.
Non-negotiable. You need plenty of stock. The source recommends 115% to 130% inventory coverage of your expected demand during the transition. There's even a specific formula mentioned for calculating this buffer based on average daily sales and sales velocity variation.
Running out of stock mid-restructure would be a nightmare.
Total disaster, wipes out momentum instantly.
And coordination with other teams. Inventory, content, pricing.
Yep. Make sure restock dates line up with campaign relaunches. Ensure product listings are updated with the keywords you're targeting in PPC. Sync up any promotions with your bid changes. Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Then, plan the actual transition in phases. The source suggests 3 waves over 21 days.
Yeah, a warm-up, a validation, and a full cutover phase. This gradual approach apparently reduces the algorithmic shock, cutting transition costs by about 38%.
And finally, plan for risks. Put mitigation steps in place.
Right. Set up ACS tripwires rules that auto-pause a campaign if ACS goes, say, 150% over target for 48 hours straight. Use bid plus placements to protect your top spots for critical keywords. And maintain some keyword overlap, the source says 45% to 60%, between the old and new campaigns during the switch. It acts as a buffer for the algorithm.
That's a lot of planning, but it makes sense given the risks. So, after planning, how do you actually divide campaigns? Strategic segmentation, section 3.2.
Right. The goal here is to break campaigns into smaller, more focused groups, but do it carefully to keep that algorithmic trust and performance stable.
And the main way is segmenting by search intent.
That's the recommendation. Separate campaigns for branded keywords, generic, competitor, and long-tail terms. Each gets its own bid strategy, maybe aggressive for branded, more conservative for long-tail.
And you implement those negative keyword cascades here.
Yes. You use negatives strategically so. For example, branded search terms don't trigger ads in your generic campaigns, keeps things clean. And during the transition, allocate the bulk of the budget, maybe 70%, to the groups that have historically proven they convert well.
Use that 21-day phase transition framework again.
Exactly. Phase 1, days 1 to 7. Launch the new segmented structure with a small budget, maybe 20%. Keep the old campaigns running, but just trim their bids slightly, like 15%. Monitor a combined normalized ACOS across both old and new.
Okay, phase 2, days 8-14.
Compare performance, especially things like session vitality. Shift more budget, maybe 40% now, to the best new campaigns. Start slowly migrating keywords from the old structure, maybe 10% per day.
Slow and steady. Phase 3, days 15-21.
If the new campaigns are doing well, maybe 15% better than the old ones on key metrics, you start turning off the old campaigns. Use bid plus adjustments on critical keywords in the new structure to secure their spots, and crucially, maintain that 45-60% keyword overlap during this final handover.
And there are specific algorithmic buffering tactics mentioned.
Yeah, things like keeping some top-performing keywords running in the old campaign a bit longer as anchors, maybe using slightly higher bids like plus 25% in the new campaigns for the first week to help them gain traction faster, and mirroring the peak conversion hours from the old campaigns using day parting in the new ones.
And monitoring during this segmentation. Hourly.
For key metrics, yes, hourly during the intense transition parts. Track CTR variance if it drops more than 15%, maybe increase bids 10%. Track CVR decoupling if conversion rates diverge more than 20% between similar campaigns. Pause variance and investigate. Watch impression share loss if it drops more than 25%. You might need to reallocate budget.
What about best practices for the new structure itself?
Use portfolio budgets, not individual daily caps per campaign, so your winners don't run out of steam. Keep ad groups tightly focused, maybe 5-7 related keywords. Minimize search volume overlap between ad groups, like keep it under 10%.
And isolate match types.
Yes, auto campaigns for discovery, manual campaigns for exact and phrase, maybe a separate research campaign for broad match or ASIN targeting. The source claims this can cut wasted spend by 20-35%.
And after segmentation, optimization continues.
Always. Maintain at least 80% impression share on your core keywords for 14 days to really lock in those quality score gains. Maybe use dynamic bids down only for the first week to avoid overpaying while things settle. Sync restock dates using that inventory buffer formula. Deploy automated rules like those ACOs tripwires or bid rules that trim bids once CTR stabilizes.
The payoff. Campaigns segmented this way apparently keep 92% of their momentum and achieve 18-35% lower ACS.
Pretty significant if done right.
Okay, but what if you need more than segmentation? What if you need a complete rebuild? Section 3.3 covers that methodology.
Right, sometimes a total overhaul is necessary. The source provides another 21-day protocol designed to do this while retaining momentum, aiming for that same 92% retention and 1835% lower ACS.
Phase 1 again. Preparation, days 1-3. What's involved?
Establish your baselines for key metrics. Session vitality, aim for 82 out of 100 or higher. Organic lift coefficient, target 1.8 to 2.4. And inventory stress coefficient, target 0.8, 1.2. Then map your keywords. Keep the top 20% that drive 80% of your sales. Prune the ones costing too much, over 150% ACOS, or not getting clicks, under 1% CPR. Group the rest logically by match type, intent, profitability. Then design the new campaign structure, probably using that intent-based model again.
Phase 2, parallel testing, days 4-14, similar to segmentation.
Very similar. Launch the new structure with a slice of the budget, maybe 20%. Keep the old ones active, but cut their bids by 15%. Use bid plus significantly, maybe plus 50%, on critical keywords in the new structure to help them gain traction quickly.
Monitor hourly again. Same thresholds.
Yep, same thresholds for things like CTR drops, CVR divergence, impression share loss, and implement that negative keyword cascading. Export negatives from the old campaigns, apply them as phrase negatives in the new ones, maybe add broad negatives for other irrelevant themes.
Okay. Phase 3, full cutover, days 15-21. What happens here?
Gradually move keywords 10% per day from old to new. Keep that 45-60% overlap using top performers from the old structure and the bid plus terms in the new one as anchors. Reallocate the budget according to a specific schedule.
Wait.
Day 15 might be 70% old, 30% new budget. Day 18 may be 40% old, 60% new. Day 21 is 0% old, 100% new. Lock in algorithmic trust by maintaining 80% impression share on 3 to 5 core keywords for 14 days straight, and use dynamic bids down only for the first week after cutover.
And post-rebuild optimization, day 22 onwards.
Control placement using bid adjustments based on where ads show, maybe plus 25% for top of search, negative 15% for product pages, plus 10% for rest of search. Harvest search terms weekly from auto campaigns, add good ones to manual, and negate bad ones. Use those machine learning rules again. ATS tripwires, velocity alerts, boost bids if sales drop, inventory guards, cut bids if stock runs low based on ISC.
How do you mitigate risk during a full rebuild?
Monitor a momentum preservation score, a formula combining sales velocity and quality score. If it dips below 0.85, maybe pause the transition. Defend against competitors using day parting to overbid when they stock out, or using ASIN targeting. Campaigns rebuilt this way apparently recover 2.3 times faster than those changed haphazardly. So managing the budget carefully throughout this is obviously huge. Section 3.4 focuses specifically on that.
Right. Restructuring requires really careful budget handling to protect momentum and avoid those algorithmic penalties. Phase 1, preparation again.
Yep. Know your baseline total ACOs. Tacos, maybe aim for under 15%. Know your organic lift coefficient target, 1.8, 2.4. Build that budget buffer, 10, 15% extra. And ensure sufficient inventory, 115, 130% coverage using the formula.
Phase 2, gradual reallocation, no sudden shifts.
Oh, exactly. Shift budgets incrementally, 10-20% daily between old and new or within the new structure. The source suggests a 50-30-20 rule for allocation, 50% to core, branded top keywords, 30% to growth, non-branded phrase broad, 20% to exploratory new competitor targeting.
And sync budget increases with peak conversion times.
Yeah, maybe increase bids 25% from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. PST if that's your peak, and decrease them 15% overnight from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. PST.
Phase 3, algorithmic trust. How does budget help here?
It's about stability. Retain key keywords in old campaigns longer as quality score anchors. Apply bid plus, like plus 50% on critical terms in new campaigns to ensure they get impressions. Implement negative keyword cascading to prevent budget waste from internal competition.
Phase 4, monitoring, real-time tracking.
Right. If CTR drops 15%, increase bids 10%. If ACS spikes 20% in a segment, redirect 15% of its budget to your core campaigns temporarily. If impression share loss exceeds 25%, maybe reallocate from exploratory campaigns, use automated rules, the ATS tripwire, the inventory guard. If ISE 1.5, cut bids 50%, place in optimization rules.
Phase 5, post-restructuring budgeting.
Analyze budget elasticity. The source mentions SOV elasticity. If it's above 1.5, it means increasing budget is likely to yield a good return in visibility. So maybe increase budget 15% per week, reinforce cross-channel efforts, maybe redirect 20% of saved PPC spend to boost organic efforts, or use sponsored display.
Key risks tied to budget.
Algorithmic distrust from sudden shifts, mitigate with overlap. Budget fragmentation, use portfolio budgets. Stock out loss, monitor ISC, keep it 0.8, 1.2. This careful budget approach supports that 92% momentum retention and 18-35% lower ACSS goal.
Okay, timing, section 3.5. It's not just when you start, but aligning with Amazon's rhythms.
Exactly. First, respect the algorithmic learning phases. Amazon needs 7-14 days to learn after significant changes, so avoid big adjustments like more than 10-15% on bids or budgets during this window. Don't even start a major restructure until your key metrics like CTR and CVR have been stable. Your example, 0.8% CTR, 12% CVR for at least 14 days.
Changing during learning makes things worse.
Yeah, the source says it leads to 22-35% longer recalibration times and 18-27% higher CPCs. Let things stabilize first.
What about daily patterns, day parting?
Crucial. Use hourly conversion data. Some products might get 1.8x higher CTR in the morning, 6 to 9 a.m. TST. Others might get 2.1x higher CVR in the evening, 7-11 PST. Adjust bids accordingly. Reduce bids overnight, -15-25%. This alone can improve ACOs by 28-45%.
Weekly cycles too, workdays versus weekends.
Yep. Adjust budgets maybe 60-70% for weekdays if that's your peak. Maybe increase bids 10-15% on weekends if you see higher CVR then. Consider pay cycles too.
And seasonal timing.
Plan major changes around 90-day seasonal thresholds. Gradually increase bids maybe 5% per weight starting 60 days before peak season. Maximize impression share during peak events like Black Friday or Prime Day with plus 25% bids on top of search placements. Then shift budget strategically post-peak. This seasonal tuning can yield 31% higher ROAS.
Inventory sync, again align changes with ISC.
Always. That 0.8-1.2 ISC range is the safe window. If ISC goes above 1.5, you have to reduce bids, maybe by 50%, to slow sales and avoid stocking out.
Budget reset timing. Amazon resets at midnight PST.
Right, so you might want to front-load 30-40% of your daily budget to capture morning surges effectively.
In competitive activity.
Monitor rivals. Maybe reduce your bids 10-15% when they run a big coupon campaign. Conversely, overbid 20-25% if you see a key competitor pause their campaigns or stock out. Boost branded bids 30% if a private label competitor launches.
And remember the attribution window.
Yeah, Amazon's 14-day window means you need to wait 16-18 days after a change to really analyze the full impact properly. Don't jump to conclusions too early. The source has a table summarizing this strategic timing framework.
Okay, what about testing new ideas alongside existing campaigns without breaking things? Section 3.6 covers parallel testing.
Yeah, this is how you innovate more safely. The idea is simple. Create a copy of your successful campaign, call it the test campaign.
And change only one thing.
Exactly. Change one variable, maybe the bid strategy or the match types you're using or ad copy. Allocate a small budget, maybe 80% to the original control campaign, 20% to the test. The source has a table with examples, like testing plus 15% bids on top of search placement.
How do you protect the original campaign's momentum? Algorithmic buffer.
Right. Mirror your negative keywords, export negatives from the control, apply them as phrase negatives in the test, and maintain high session vitality in the control campaign by ensuring 80% impression share on 3 to 5 core keywords. This helps protect its quality score and associated perks like CPC discounts, 22-35%, and that 1.8x organic weight.
Monitor hourly again.
Yes, use tools to track metrics like CTR variance between test and control. If the test CTR drops 15%, pause it and analyze. If ACOS diverges, getting 20% worse than the test, maybe redirect half the test budget back to the control. If impression share loss is 25% in the test, maybe boost bids 10% on the control to protect its position.
And if the test works, gradual rollout.
Yep. Scale successful tests over 14 days using a specific schedule. Maybe day 1 to 7 is 80% control, 20% test budget, then 60-40, then 30-70, then full cutover if the test meets performance criteria like less than 10% ACOS variance and at least 95% CVR parity with the control.
What do you do after the test?
Harvest the learnings. Take winning start terms from the test, ACOS 150%, and add them as exact match to the original campaign. Take poor performers, ACOS 150%, and add them as phrase negatives everywhere. Use insights from the test, like winning bid strategies or day-parting rules, to enhance the original campaigns.
The source mentions tools like AI, hello, helium-10, Channable helping here,
Yep.
and avoiding pitfalls.
Yeah, avoid cannibalization. Use negative mirroring and portfolio budgets, and budget starvation for the test. Use that 50-30-20 allocation rule across your whole account, perhaps. Campaigns tested this way apparently get 18-35% higher ROAS on the new strategies while keeping organic ranks stable. Now, using past campaign data effectively, Section 3.7 calls it gold.
Makes sense. Historical data helps preserve that algorithmic trust and momentum during restructuring. So, first, another performance audit.
Looking back 60-90 days. Find campaigns with good ACS, maybe 25%. Check CTR, CVR covariance. Less than 15% divergence is good for stable quality scores. Look for high session vitality. A2100 helps organic. Campaigns showing 8% weekly sales growth for 21 plus days apparently get 37% higher algorithmic trust.
Use search term reports for keyword optimization.
Absolutely. Promote converting terms. ACUS 150% to exact match campaigns, maybe starting bids at 80% of their old CPC. Negate poor performers, ACOS 1/50% as phrase negatives. Harvest new keyword ideas from auto campaigns constantly, 15-20 weekly. The source states restructuring around the top 20% of keywords, driving 80% of sales cut wasted spend by 28% in one analysis.
Use historical data for budget allocation too.
Yeah, there's even a predictive formula mentioned based on historical sales, target ACOS, price and velocity, allocate budgets by campaign tier. Core, 50-60% budget, ROAS 4.0. Growth, 25-35% budget, ACOS 35%. Exploratory, 10-15% budget, CTR 0.7%.
Reconfigure structure based on historical winners.
Yes, rebuild using that intent-based architecture informed by which types of terms performed best historically. And always keep that 45-60% keyword overlap during the transition, using historical top performers as anchors.
Preserve algorithmic trust using that 21-day protocol.
Right. The warm-up, validation, cutover phases leverage historical stability to retain up to 92% momentum.
Sync inventory using historical demand data.
Yes, use past sales to calculate the restock buffer formula and keep your ISC between 0.8 and 1.2.
And competitive defense using history.
Use historical patterns. Boost branded bids 30% during times competitors typically launch products. Use day parting based on past data to overbid rivals during times they historically stock out.
And preserve the data itself. Amazon's 60-day limit is a challenge.
Yeah, use automated backups, conduct longer-term trend analysis, 180-day averages, and use anomaly detection based on historical norms. Campaigns using these historical insights reportedly achieve 18-35% lower ACS and keep 92% of their organic visibility.
Okay, moving into section 4. These are related optimization techniques, often part of a restructure, that also need momentum-preserving approaches.
Right, like adjusting bids gradually.
Yep, only change bids by 5-10% increments every 7-14 days. Use formulas based on target ACS, price, and CVR. Avoid sudden shifts.
Adding negative keywords safely. Don't add them too early. Wait 14-21 days for data. Start with phrase match negatives. Reserve exact match for confirmed bad terms after 30 days. Add them gradually, maybe 5-10 per day initially. This preserves trust and leads to 18-35% lower ACS.
Introducing new keywords to established campaigns.
Discover them from auto campaigns. Look for good ACOS, CTR, CVR. Start new keywords at lower bids, maybe 50-70% of legacy bids. Put them in dedicated ad groups. Use negative keyword cascading so old terms don't compete. Increase bids gradually as they meet performance thresholds.
Changing keyword match types safely.
Use that gradual transition framework again. Parallel testing, validation, cutover, maintain 45-60% keyword overlap, organize campaigns by match type, exact phrase, broad. Use phrase negatives to prevent overlap, limit bid changes, 5-10% weekly.
Optimizing ad placement.
Use placement multipliers, 0-900% range for top of search, product pages, rest of search. Combine with dynamic bids, implement gradually over 14 days, maybe 20% budget first week, 50% second. Monitor session vitality and inventory stress coefficient, ISC.
Moving from automatic to manual campaigns.
Run auto campaigns for 14-21 days first to get search term report data. Set up manual campaigns using intent-based ad groups, exact phrase, broad. Starting bids maybe 110% of the auto CPC. Critically, add the keywords you move to manual as negative exact matches in the auto campaign to stop internal competition. Gradually shift budget over 14-21 days. Keep the auto campaign running at low budget, 10-20%, for ongoing discovery.
Expanding audience targeting.
Use Amazon's audience solutions, in-market lifestyle, etc. Create dedicated campaigns, maybe 15-20% budget initially. Use negative keyword mirroring to prevent overlap with keyword campaigns. Scale budgets gradually. Use metrics like CTR, CVR variance, ACOS spikes, and ISC to monitor impact.
Strategic time-based scheduling.
Use automated tools for day parting, adjusting bids based on hourly daily performance. Always align with your inventory stress coefficient, ISC. This achieves that 18-35% lower ACS while keeping 92% momentum target. Which brings us to monitoring during changes. Section 5. This is absolutely critical.
Yeah, it's how you catch problems before they snowball and kill your momentum. What are the critical metrics to watch during a restructure?
The source lists 10 key ones, ACOs obviously.
Yep.
Keep it within 15% of your baseline. A sudden spike over 20% means something's wrong with bids or targeting in the new structure. Keep it in the 0.4–1.2% range generally. A drop of more than 15% is bad news, signals a relevance issue, hurts your ad placement priority.
QVR.
Aim for 12–25% range depending on category. A drop of more than 10% is a red flag, suggests mismatched traffic, or maybe issues with the product listing page itself.
Search lost impression share, budget.
Keep this under 30%. If it's higher, your new structure is running out of budget too soon, missing sales opportunities. There's even a formula given for required budget based on goals.
And search lost impression share, rank.
Keep this under 40%. If it's high, your new campaigns just aren't bidding competitively enough.
Session vitality score.
Aim for 82 out of 100 or higher. A drop of more than 15% is concerning. It means shoppers aren't engaged after clicking ads from the new structure, which directly hurts your organic rank potential.
Inventory stress coefficient, ISC.
Keep it in that sweet spot, 0.8 to 1.2. If it goes above 1.5, stock out risk is severe and you need to act immediately, likely by reducing bids. There's a formula for ISC too.
Organic Rank Migration Index, or
RMI. Target Maniga 0.3 to Nadiga 0.1. This tracks if your new PPC structure is helping your organic rank move up, negative value, or causing it to slip, positive value, formula provided.
Share of voice elasticity.
Target greater than 1.5. This tells you if your budget increases in the new structure are actually yielding a proportional increase in impressions, formula provided.
And order session percentage, OSP.
Aim for the 9–15% range. It's a good overall indicator of conversion health across your sessions.
How often should you check these?
Depends on the metric. Hourly for fast movers like CTR, CVR, session vitality, you likely need tools like Amazon Marketing Stream for this. Daily for AQS trends, impression share loss metrics, ISC. Weekly for strategic ones like ORMI and SOV elasticity. Monthly for bigger reviews. Avoid checking too often based on lagged data, though.
What tools help measure momentum during changes?
Amazon Marketing Stream for hourly data. Seller app for audits and finding wasted spend. AdBrew for automation and tracking SOV. Helium 10 for keyword rank, profitability, and inventory alerts. Amazon Marketing Cloud, AMC, for deeper cross-channel attribution and session vitality analysis. Tychometrics for AI-driven bidding and inventory sync. There are also predictive models mentioned like CPF, PSJL, and dashboard tools like Agency Analytics. Each helps monitor specific aspects during the transition.
And what are the early warning signs that things are going wrong?
The source lists 10 clear signs. ACOS rising more than 20%. CTR declining more than 15%. Sales stagnating or declining even with traffic. Frequently running out of budget. IS lost 30%. ISC imbalance going above 1.5. Inconsistent metric performance across campaigns. Declining organic ranks. ORMI going positive 0.3. High CPCs with low ROI. Session vitality dropping below 7/5/100. And neglecting negative keywords leading to 20% irrelevant clicks. See these. Take action.
You need benchmarks before you start.
Absolutely. How can you measure impact without knowing your starting point? Benchmark ACOS, know your break-even, category averages, CTR, CVR, TACOS, aim 5–15%, IS loss, budget target 30%, ISC target 0.8–1.2, session vitality 7/5/100, or MI and NAGS 0.3 to NAG 0.1, SOV elasticity 1.5. These benchmarks will vary by category and product lifecycle stage. Collect 14–21 days of baseline data before you change anything significant.
How do you even tell which sales came from the changes? Attribution seems tricky.
It is, especially with the delay. Use Amazon's standard 14-day attribution window. Sales within 14 days of the last click. For deeper insights, use Amazon Marketing Cloud, AMC, for multi-touch attribution. The source even gives example SQL queries. Monitor hourly data via Marketing Stream for immediate correlations. Use A/B testing with control groups, formula for lift given. Analyze search term reports filtered by the date you made the change. Look at those algorithmic trust indicators like session vitality and RMI changes. Try to filter out external factors like competitor price drops or seasonality using AMC.
Challenges like last touch bias and cannibalization exist, though.
Yes, AMC helps understand the full customer journey beyond last touch. Negative cascades help prevent cannibalization. It requires careful analysis. Now, Section 6 briefly touches on recovery if momentum is lost, despite best efforts.
Because sometimes things go wrong anyway.
Exactly. This source outlines steps like diagnosing the root cause, potentially reverting the problematic changes, focusing on stabilizing algorithmic trust signals, making aggressive budget adjustments, revising keywords, and maybe using promotions strategically to kickstart sales velocity again.
And recovery takes time.
Definitely. It varies hugely. Maybe 4–7 days to recover from a short stock out. But 14-45 days for prolonged stockouts or campaign pauses, maybe 21-35 days on average for pauses, severe damage, like a 30-plus day pause plus a collapse in organic rank, that could take 6-8 weeks to recover, even with aggressive tactics.
Wow, what does recovery speed depend on?
Things like how resilient your organic rank was to begin with, your inventory health, that ISC metric again, and your commitment to ad spend during recovery, maybe needing 120-150% of normal budget for 7-14 days.
The source also distills key lessons learned from momentum loss,
Right.
which really just reinforce the strategies we discussed.
Precisely. Lesson 1, inventory management is absolutely non-negotiable. Stockouts are catastrophic. ISC 1.5 is the danger zone. Maintain that 0.8-1.2 ISC range and 115-130% buffer stock.
Lesson 2. Gradual optimization is key. Sudden changes, 10% daily, reset trust. Phased adjustments over 14-21 days, gradual keyword transitions, and that 35-60% overlap are essential.
3. Negative keyword hygiene prevents waste. Needs weekly audits. 4. Algorithmic trust requires consistency focus on CTR, CVR, session vitality. 5. Budget discipline matters, don't starve top performers.
6. Paid and organic synergy is real. PPC fuels organic, avoid abrupt pauses. 7. Proactive monitoring is vital use tools to catch issues early. 8. Strategic promotions can help revive velocity, but sync them with inventory levels, ISC.
Okay, finally, Section 7 touches on broader considerations. Restructuring doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right. Things like seasonal patterns obviously affect when you should attempt big changes. We covered that in timing.
Inventory levels are deeply connected again, reinforces the importance of ISC monitoring and planning.
Changes to your product listings themselves.
They impact PPC, listing quality affects CVR, keyword alignment and the listing affects quality score, so ensure listings are optimized before you make significant ad changes.
Competitor activity influences strategy too.
Yep. Restructuring might be defensive, protecting against a rival, or offensive, targeting their weaknesses like stockouts or launching against them.
It's also a balance between short-term fixes and long-term momentum building.
Exactly. Quick wins, like bid tweaks, should feed into longer-term goals, like improving quality scores and session vitality, use gradual scaling, portfolio budgets, consistent overlap.
And the product lifecycle matters.
Yes, a restructuring approach for a new product, focus on awareness, reviews, maybe more aggressive bids, is very different from a mature product. Focus on profitability, exact match dominance. The source outlines goals and adjustments for introduction, growth, maturity, and decline stages, noting how changes impact momentum differently at each stage.
Lastly, coordinating with other marketing channels, like social media.
Right. Use social insights for keyword ideas or message alignment. Drive external traffic from social to Amazon. This can boost session vitality and organic rank. Use cross-channel data for budget allocation. An integrated approach builds brand loyalty and can help counter things like private label bias.
Okay, that was definitely a deep dive. We covered a huge amount on strategic campaign restructuring from this source.
We really did. We started with understanding Amazon PPC momentum, how it's all about consistency, how the algorithm tracks and rewards it, creating that positive loop with organic rank.
Then we look hard at the risks, how changing things too fast forces recalibration, fragments signals, causes internal competition, and ultimately leads to higher costs and lost visibility.
But the source provided a clear path forward, starting with meticulous planning, the audit, clear goals, data analysis, crucial inventory and budget prep, team coordination, phased rollout planning, and risk mitigation.
We went through the step-by-step methodologies for both segmenting campaigns and doing complete rebuilds, safely emphasizing that gradual 21-day phased approach, parallel testing, negative cascades, and strategic keyword overlap.
We covered careful, gradual budget management during transitions, allocating funds strategically based on performance and timing, while always aiming to preserve algorithmic trust.
We highlighted how critical timing is aligning with algorithmic learning phases, daily, weekly, seasonal patterns, and especially inventory levels, ISC.
We learned the process for testing new ideas safely using parallel campaigns, changing one variable, buffering the control campaign, monitoring closely, and scaling gradually. And we underscored the value of leveraging historical data for audits, keyword strategy, budgeting, structure design, trust preservation, and competitive defense, remembering to back up that data.
We also touched on how specific optimization techniques like bid changes, adding negatives, changing match types, placement optimization, moving auto to manual must also follow these gradual momentum-preserving principles.
And we spent significant time on monitoring the critical metrics to watch. ACOS, CTR, CVR, IS lost, session vitality, ISC, ORMI, SOV. The right frequencies, hourly, daily, weekly. The tools available, the early warning signs, the need for pre-change benchmarks, and the complexities of attribution.
We acknowledge recovery is sometimes needed and takes time, reinforcing those key lessons. Inventory is king. Be gradual, manage negatives, build trust through consistency, manage budgets wisely, sync paid organic, monitor proactively, and use promotions strategically.
And finally, we connected it all to the broader context. Seasonality, inventory, again, listings, competitors, product lifecycle stage, and integrating with other marketing channels. All these inform the why and when of strategic restructuring.
Bottom line from the source. Following these strategic approaches allows sellers to optimize more safely, maintain or improve profitability, citing that 18-35% lower ACS figure.
Protect those hard-won organic rankings, the 92% momentum retention figure.
And achieve sustainable growth, rather than getting caught in endless cycles of disruptive changes and painful recovery periods.
That was incredibly thorough. Thanks for bringing this source material to the deep dive.
Yeah, really useful stuff in there.
It really drives home that strategic restructuring isn't about, just tearing everything down and starting fresh overnight. It's much more about evolution.
Evolution, yeah.
Understanding the algorithm's rhythm, planning meticulously with data, phasing your changes carefully, and just monitoring constantly, being ready to adapt.
So maybe here's the provocative thought for you to chew on. If you stop thinking about campaign optimization as these occasional drastic, stressful overhauls, and instead view it as a continuous, gradual process, an evolution guided by data and an awareness of how the algorithm works, how might that shift your entire approach to growing your business on Amazon?